Steve?
We are now. We are now
I'm
going
hearing
to be
a lot
live.
of echo.
There we go. How about that?
Better. Hey, everybody. You're listening to and possibly watching the Comic Book Bears podcast. I'm Bill Zanowitz.
I'm Steve Morey.
I'm Caleb Alexander McKenzie and very confused.
And we are your hairy, heavy homos that talk about comic books, but you don't have to be a hairy, heavy homo to listen in or possibly stream in. This is the weirdest opening we've ever done. So it's out of the way.
It's wacky. It's like, Bill, you jumped in before the intro was done, and it just was like, okay, well, Bill's talking.
I just had a countdown. I didn't hear any like the.
I didn't have any of that. I didn't have a countdown, or that's why I said something. I was like, that's not doing the music or the countdown. It looks like we're live now. And then Bill was like, I was talking, you piece of shit. Shut up.
We'll fix it in post. All right. But again, we're back with you for another gab fest of current comics and related topics. Like many people, I have been under the storms. More snow. Ay, ay, ay. I love winter. I don't love this much of it at once. I'll tell you.
No, thank you. I am glad that the storm missed us in the south for sure, because after the last one where we had like 9-10 inches on the ground that took forever to melt because right under it was that layer of ice, I'm done with it. We had rain all day, but it was also like 60 degrees. So
we had some rain. I hope it did good because I still haven't dug out my car from Sunday, and I have a crossover tomorrow.
Ooh.
I am going to cross over with the Movie Bears because for the very first time, Will Lindis and I are going to meet each other in person.
Really?
Yes.
That's awesome.
He's up. He's going to be up in Mamaroneck for one of his. He works for a. I don't know how do you describe it. It's like medical software for veterinarians.
Yeah.
So he's at some kind of. He's speaking at something on Saturday. So he's staying in Newark instead of staying up in Mamaroneck. So I'm going to meet him at his hotel, and
that's
go out to
that's awesome. We'll tell him.
No, it's a crossover. Yeah. Just like in the comic books, a crossover, intercompany crossover.
That is awesome.
We'll have to have two issues because one I get top billing and the other he gets top billing. So it's fair. So it's a level playing field.
That's good, but that's exciting. I think Will is he's a blast, and see if you can get him to find another horror movie he wants to talk to me about, because that was a lot of fun. We got to do The Thing on the Bear Cave of Terror, and
nice. That
was a blast. So,
and speaking of that, what have some of your recent episodes? What have they been?
Well, I've actually just finished recording a couple episodes in the past week, working with our good friend Vince Tenebra to do 2 more Alien franchise film episodes. So we did both of the prequels, back to back.
Okay.
And then also I recorded with Derek Gale for the first time of the Glitterjaw podcast, and Screonk, which is one of my favorite Godzilla-based podcasts. He came on and we talked about Fright Night from 1985. So look for those in future weeks, people.
All right, very cool. Very cool.
But yeah. So how have you been digging yourself out completely?
I was very bad this week. I was, because the job is, it's a very full day.
Yeah.
And I've been sick on top of this. I've had a cold, and you can probably hear it. There's still some remnants of it there. I didn't want to take a decongestant so that it wasn't like, throughout the show. So better it's a little stuffed up than runny right now. So
yeah.
So because of that, I didn't want to go out. Rob didn't want to go out, so the cars are still buried. So who knows what I'm in for tomorrow, because I have to meet Will by 5 p.m. And then also this week I'm going to ZoloCon, which is a mostly toy and horror convention over in Bucks County. And our friends Jay and Bill are going to be there. some other people I know, especially if people are familiar with the Pod Stallions podcast and Pod Stallions group. There's a lot of people, including like the main honcho Brian Heiler, who's going to be there. So
that's cool.
So I'm looking forward to that on Saturday.
Are you looking for anything particular this time?
Well, somebody reached out to me and asked if I was going. He's going to go Sunday, but he's worried about one of the exclusives being gone by then. So I'm going to look for him on Saturday morning. It's like some glow in the dark, like horse and rider thing. Because there's a lot of exclusive toys that are at this show. So I'm going to take a look at that there. I might get the aforementioned Brian is in charge of the reboot of Lincoln Monsters imprint, and there's like a quasi like Planet of the Apes thing that's out there. It's hard to describe, but it looks kind of cool. Even though I can't stand Planet of the Apes, this figure still looks cool. So since they're Mego adjacent, I might get one of those. But really going to be looking at the older stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lots of figures and bags. That's what I'm predicting seeing figures and bags.
Is there anything, I know you're looking at kind of older stuff, is there anything like in particular that if you run across it, like you're just like, no, like I kind of am looking for this?
I have some naked Megos from my youth that in the 80s, I put them in, there was a really bad series called Spiral Zone. I don't know, Steve, if you remember it. It wasn't very long-lived, but the figures had these kind of outfits that you could buy separately. So I put them, they were like kind of like black and gray jumpsuits. So the naked Megos went in there was like Shazam and Supergirl. If I ever see like, even if they're reproduction costumes, which I always could have gotten through Figures Toy Company, but if they were like the actual Megos, I'd probably spend like a few dollars on that. Last year I got that carrying case at that show, which replaced the one I got for Christmas 1973. So that was nice to get that there.
Get your money's worth out of that one.
Yeah, and there's a lot of like the exhibitors there know their stuff, which is both good and bad because it's priced according to somebody who knows their stuff, but they'll also have stuff you'll never see at other shows. So,
which, it's sort of like it's the upside downside. It's like you're definitely going to find what you want, but you're probably not going to be able
they
to
know what it's worth
for it. Like, it's not like coming across it in a flea market.
My days of going crazy at cons are kind of over. In terms of expenditure, there was one show. It was one of the Wizard World in Philly. Mm-hmm. I think I made like 5 trips back to my car. Whether it was like 10-cent comics or there was oh my God, I bought so much of that one particular show.
Wow.
I remember.
Speaking of cons, I have news. I will be joining the both of you, I think, at Charlotte for Heroes Con this year. It was not going to happen, but for some things that kind of fell in place, and to me being very nice, and to my better half, and then just kind of really needing to like lay hands on friends. I got the go ahead to go, so I will be joining.
Nice.
I've got to book the room tonight or tomorrow. Go ahead and get the room booked, get that in there. But I will be there.
Yeah,
yay! I really do need. It's been a couple years. I need to have another Caleb hug because, man, this. I mean, your hugs are like a leap and encompass, and it's just fantastic.
I like giving them, and I like seeing my friends. So I'm very excited, and it'll be a con. I'm flying there, so I also won't go crazy. I'll have a couple of books that I'm looking forward to get done, but mostly just putting FaceTime in with people I care about. So I'm excited about that.
But like even this time around with I didn't make a trip to the post office.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah,
it was like kind of manageable. You sent some stuff later on.
Yeah.
But it was sorry folks, still got a cold.
Just put him on mute.
Yeah. And I think it's also worth mentioning that Mr. Alexander McKenzie and Mr. Zanowitz here are a little neater.
Yeah.
Some people have gotten a haircut. Some people did not get that opportunity before their stylist
fled the state
and is now currently working in Colorado, making everybody else's hair look amazing with like some crazy number of wigs. We're talking like 60 wigs that he's been putting together. So I will have to wait until he gets back. So I'll just be singing the soundtrack from Hair, like in the meantime. But
I never really did go down that hair exploitation route, because I started finding there's a disco hair album that came out much later. I did get like one or two things, but
well, I'm not a musical person. I'm not a Broadway musical person. However, there was a time in my life where Hedwig and the Angry Inch was like 8/10 of my personality. And then the new Lost Boys musical came along. And this thing I've been excitedly waiting for it since early last year, when I first heard the soundtrack, or the music that was being written by, I believe it's the Rescues.
Not a soundtrack, it's a cast album.
I know it's a soundtrack, but no, it's not a cast album. They haven't been making the cast album yet. It was the original
but it's not a soundtrack.
Pitch. It was the original pitch. They had several songs that they had come up with, and from the investors meeting, the producers meetings, they performed them, and they're all amazing. And recently, they've been doing some cast recordings of the rehearsals, as well as just general recordings, and it goes into previews, I believe, in the next couple of weeks. So excited to probably never get a ticket
Mike
to it.
Comes over, one of the shows he's seeing is Lost Boys.
Oh, good.
When he comes over for his biannual trip to the Great White Way.
I'm excited to hear other people enjoy it.
Yeah, when I worked at Circle in the Square, I did go to a lot of backers auditions, and I did see the Star Wars backers audition.
They made some choices, did they?
The thing was, okay, but it also shows I'll tell you a few stories here, because it tells me like it was smart of me to get out of theater, because I'm a lousy judge of character in terms of productions. So there was a Star Wars backers audition. They clearly were in a situation where the tech was prospective, that they didn't really have the tech to do the things they wanted to do. And the songs were like as close to Phantom of the Opera as you could get without being sued, It was, like I was joking, like I don't remember exactly how the song went. Masquerade, Princess Leia will be saved. Masquerade, So, but there was one song, and they like took liberties, and when Ben died, Luke actually ran up to him, and then Ben sings his song as he's dying. And I do remember the coupling. The Force is always with you, Luke. Ignore the dark side, seek the truth. That I remember. But there was a whole Cantina song that was like, oh my God. It was like so bad. It was so bad.
Why didn't they just redo the B. Arthur one from the Life Day special? I mean, that would have gotten people in the doors.
Wasn't in the cards then. But yeah, I mean, like when I was working in Broadway theater, there was a play called The Rise and Fall of Little Voice. It was later made into the film Little Voice.
Oh, yeah.
And when I saw that, I thought, oh my God, this is the best play I have ever seen in my life. It's going to run forever. It closed after 4 performances. And then there was another show with, if you remember Marsha Mason, she was an actress. She used to be married to Neil Simon. Goodbye, Girl. Like, you know if you saw her. Okay.
Yeah.
Marsha.
And she was in a play called The Caregiver, which was about a nurse who was killing her patients, but you don't really discover that until the second act. and I thought, oh my God, this is the best American play ever. Never went anywhere. So after Point, I just had it, and I did produce a show off Broadway, and in the end, I think my takeaway was like $37 in the end. After
you mean a profit?
Good idea for a show. It was called Graceland: Asleep on the Wind, and the first act was the first day that Graceland was open to the public, which was, I think, about a year and a half after Elvis died. And then the second act it concerns two women who are online there. And then the second act is the younger one of the two women with her brother, who's a dead ringer for Elvis, right before he goes off to Vietnam. And I thought, God, this play hits on so many things, and nothing.
Stay out of theater, kids. It's nothing but disappointment.
Could have been an entertainment mogul. And today I would have loved to have been an entertainment mogul just to get out of this fucking situation. Oh,
and what is that situation, Bill? What are we
the situation is that the board of directors of Warner Brothers Discovery approved a bid which they characterized as superior from Paramount Skydance. And they offered Netflix 4 days to match it. Netflix just said, forget it. And it looks like Paramount will eventually be able to acquire Warner Brothers. And that's not good.
Yeah. Well, Ted Sarandon, I think, had said, he came out today and he said, like, we took a look at the amount that Paramount was bidding at, and Warner Brothers was like, yeah, we're good with that. And we're like, we're not going to pay that amount. Like, it was a good value, but it wasn't acquire at all cost, I think, paraphrasing what he was saying. And so he's like, hey, we're good. We're investing $20 billion in our, in our own production. So, if we can't get that IP, we can't get that IP. And, Paramount, of course, their bid is for the entire company, whereas Netflix originally was going to sort of just spin off the terrestrial channels, just the TV channels, the cable channels. We lost Bill. Well, he's just hiding, I guess. But Paramount was like, no, we'll take it all because we're just going to put Larry Ellis's stink all over everything, including CNN, which is I think probably the main reason why they wanted to acquire a lot of this, because it comes with news. It comes with things that they can use to influence people and
well, they can effectively do to CNN what they've done to CBS.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is and look, regardless, I hate to sound like I'm like fence riding or something like that. Regardless of what side of the spectrum you're on or whatever, there is an argument to be made that it is a terrible thing for all of us when the bulk of mass media is controlled by just a few people. Right.
Yep.
I also don't want somebody who necessarily agrees with me about everything to own all of the media. I think that's bad. I think that having diversity in media is a good thing. Now, I also think that the people who are in media should have to, do weird things like tell the truth. And there should be some things on that. But regardless, I mean, obviously, I'm not the same like political spectrum as the Ellison folks are. And they are going to do what they did to CBS. Now, the thing is, I guess, maybe, I don't know if it's a silver lining or what, but like CBS's ratings have gone to shit. The kind of magnified, whatever TV host that they thought was just going to be the guy who gets in there and rocks everything. Like they can't sell his show to people.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
it's not even that it's third. It's a distant third.
Yeah.
And I think that could also be the point. So it's kind of like well, we either take it over and we're able to direct, all the news to a particular political viewpoint that's supported by the president that kisses the president's ass or whatever, or we completely destroy the credibility to the point where we get our revenge either way. Like we either change it so that it's now molded into our opinions, or people are so disgusted or turned off by it that we get to destroy what 60, 70, 80 years worth of of television development and growth and anything.
Yeah, I mean, there hasn't been much of an effect on the main network itself.
No,
but since the heyday of Norman Lear, CBS has not exactly been an adventurous network.
Yeah.
No, they get one thing,
earned, and the network is very much earned. And like seriously, like right now, about the most adventurous show they have on there is Ghosts.
Yeah, Ghosts. Yeah,
So
and Matlock and Elspeth, I think, are pretty subversive and interesting in their own way. Like, just very basically Thursday night for them, with the exception of Georgie and Mandy, which my husband loves because he loves the whole Big Bang, young Sheldon, now Georgie and Mandy trajectory. Loves them, yeah, I mean, CBS has they've got these dramas that are pretty much repetitive, and they kind of are just part of the same franchise, which is fine. If you like it, you like it, and they've been doing that forever. But the news was what was always kind of above and beyond untouchable.
I mean, the thing we have to talk about is DC Comics, like what kind of position that would be in. One thing that I think will work incredibly in DC's favor of remaining, remaining under their own steam, is that they're doing really well right now.
Yeah.
DC's doing very well right now. And I think with David Sherry, I think Warner's internally has saw the error of bringing somebody from outside of comics to run things.
Yeah.
Yes, Dan DiDio came from television, but Dan DiDio, whatever you think about him, he was a comic book guy. And that David Cherry guy, Jesus Christ. I mean, like, he didn't even show up on Zoom calls for 19 days straight or something. Yeah, so it's a clown. And then would take credit for stuff that happened. So hopefully the autonomy that DC seems to enjoy right now, I don't see that changing immediately.
Yeah. I mean, IP generation itself is important, and that's where the money is in the IP generation. And what you do with that IP afterwards, that's kind of the what makes or breaks a studio. And we've had Warner Brothers has been passed around like a football for the past 20 years, I think, through different corporate entities.
Who would have thought Ted Turner was the best shepherd?
Yeah.
Who would have thought? He's like, I own a comic company. You guys know what you're doing. Go do it.
Yeah.
Why don't we have a Cartoon Network? It makes no sense.
Let's do it. Let's do this Cartoon Network. And now, of course,
basically 70% of the television library in terms of animation. Why don't we have a network? There were a lot of things he did that make sense. And now, that's going to be the saddest thing. Cause CNN, apart from whatever the hell is going to happen with CNN, I really think TCM is just going to vanish.
Yeah. Well, I think most of the cable networks are going to be going away. I mean, cable's dying. That's very clear. The future is in streaming services, whether it's the fast streaming services that are all commercially funded, ad driven, or the more premium services where people just kind of, pay their $25 a month, $20 a month and get no ads and just, whatever.
And also the way people consume news. I mean, there isn't one news outlet on television right now that wouldn't kick a blind nun to get the ratings that Midas Network does.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And, it's having a spillover effect. I mean, look at the Bulwark. Look how well they're doing. Look how well Pod Save America is doing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and to me, CNN and O has always been kind of centrist anyway.
Yeah, they have. And so like where it came from me, and I used to be the news junkie in the family, right? Where I got home, I watched the news and it stayed on the news and I was trying to find out because I want to be interconnected with the world. Now, kind of to your point about, I guess podcast news, like, Pod Save America or the Midas Touch or things like that, I get a lot of my news not from social media, because I think it's a terrible place to get it, but I get a lot of my news from podcasts, right? And I like Under the Desk News is also a good one that I enjoy and I watch. Because when I get home from a hard day at work, the very last thing I want to do is to turn on the news and just hate my day more. Because it doesn't matter if it's the current administration or the former administration or what, right? Like I've got a very limited amount of time to spend with my family before I go to bed and have to get up and do this shit thing all over again, right? So like I'm not going to waste that time watching the news. I understand that terrible things are happening and that evil people are in power. I don't need that told to me anymore, right? I can keep up with what's going on during the day, and then spend some quality time soaking in some art, some culture at night. And so that's what we tend to do. And that is why I think, to your point, so many people, the news ratings suck. No one wants to watch it anymore. It's just fucking depressing. And we live in a depressing situation anyway. So why do that to ourselves as a public? Well, stay informed, but don't just beat yourself against the wall.
And I think a lot of people are kind of generally, the old fallback was always local TV news, but since that's owned by a couple, very skewed conglomerates now anyway, who have like particular nationally created news segments that they just spread out across, whether it's a script or whether it's just I mean, it's just like, okay, now all of these local news have the exact same viewpoint, which has never been the case really. So eventually it's just gonna all collapse on itself.
Yeah, and it is sad that it seems a lot of people now, the only time that they tune into local news is when it's snowing.
Yeah, the weather.
Yeah, the weather.
But I think that's also indicative of the thing that is actually something that impacts their life. And there's a lot of stuff in the news that impacts our lives, and I think we know that. But for the average person, does it really, or do they realize the impact that the news has on their life? Oh, somebody's bombing somebody else in the Middle East again. That's terrible. It's not doing anything to my real life. It is, right? We are cognizant enough to know that it is, but the average person, they get up, they go to sleep, they get up, they go to sleep, they go to work, they take care of their families, they buy groceries, they feed their babies, and that's it, right? So they don't understand the day-to-day impact of this. So it's very easy for them to unplug from it.
Yeah. And people watch your local news. All the weird shit is going on there. Yeah. All the weird shit. Like the Hasidim they're dealing drugs in high schools and stuff. All the weird shit's going on in
we got a guy running for sheriff that's also facing charges for trying to kill the dude that was the 60-year-old man that his 15-year-old daughter was running away with. Like and half the county is like, yeah, we want that guy as our sheriff. And I'm just like, I mean, I can understand why, but you do know, like, the reason he went to jail is because he shot at them both. Like, he was going to save his daughter to death from the pedophile. Like,
no daughter of mine. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but yeah, crazy news.
Crazy news.
Oh, all right. We do have some good news. There's some good, comic book news that kind of came out of Comics Pro, and they've been, we've been getting really cool announcements here and there about just upcoming things. Just throwing a little bit out there, this whole, the next DC initiatives that are coming out, some of these books they're going to be coming out, and we've talked about a few of them before, and they revealed a few more. And I mean, I'm excited about those. I think it's really cool. We've got some new not new characters, but characters that don't always get the spotlight that are going to be getting the spotlight again, like Black Canary and, obviously Lobo and Deathstroke. And I've talked about why my feelings on that, but there's some good stuff. And then apparently they're throwing a Hail Mary pass about X-Men taking it back to the Outback. Hey, I mean, it worked 30 years ago. Maybe it'll work again now because nothing else is really working.
I think people have a very romanticized vision and feel about the Outback X-Men. The reason we kind of enjoyed it because we knew it wasn't going to last forever.
Yeah.
So reads like, you know how bad, you know, like one thing that was like a hallmark of Chris Claremont was he would start the seeds of something and then never follow up on it.
Mm-hmm.
It is like infested. The Outback period is infested with that.
Yeah.
There's romances that look like they're going to happen and they never spring up. Oh my God. The Outback period is weird.
Yeah. I mean, Manifold's cool.
There's some cool stuff, but, you know. But also, I have to say, I think one thing that benefited from that was X Factor.
Yeah,
because you did have a book that was grounded in the United States, grounded with characters that you were familiar with, that obviously had ties to the other team, and why these two entities wouldn't necessarily meet so quickly made sense.
Yeah,
you know, so that was a good move.
Well, yeah. But we'll see what happens with this new one, because I can tell you right now, I've dropped all of my X books with the exception of Wolverine, and the only reason why I'm sticking with it is because the past couple issues, Alpha Flight's been in it, and I love an Alpha Flight. So
I'm actually getting an issue of Wolverine because it's a Hercules issue.
Oh, nice!
And I always like
Hercules.
I always like the Wolverine Hercules romance.
I mean, at some point they're going to.
They
were a couple. A multiversal couple, but at some point they're going to be a real couple again. Our hopes will be fulfilled.
I'm not getting a single X book right now.
And we do get to look forward to Spider-Man 1000 this summer.
True, Spider-Man 1000. And another one, and I think Bill, you were the one who pointed this out to me. Mask is now going to be part of the Energon universe, and they are fully bringing them in, and it's not just hey, here's a quick,
look, there's Matt Trasker, let's ask him about cars.
Blah blah. We'll bring it. No, they're actually going to be a big thing, and I think they're actually going to have an ongoing series.
That's cool.
I believe it's Dan Waters who's going to be writing.
That's a good choice.
So
it's kind of stuff.
It'll be pretty cool. And I've been enjoying the Energon universe stuff. So I love Void Rivals. I've taken a little bit of a break from Transformers. And of course, I talked about the Dreadnought War last time with G.I. Joe. But I think they're having a lot of fun with the IP. They're having a lot of fun with the crossovers and the connections. And Hasbro's going to have a lot of stuff that they can mine for years to come from all this.
Yeah.
So,
and, though it's a little bit of old news, again, there's also an Archie reboot that's going to happen with through IDW,
right? Yeah,
taking care of a couple of I think 4 monthly titles, or at least 4.
I think so.
Miniseries or something. I don't think we really made it clear about what those are.
But it seems like we're looking at a pretty interesting summer. So I'm hopeful,
and
hopefully we'll have some cool stuff.
We'll have the DC KO resolved fairly soon.
Mm-hmm.
So. Yeah, and that moves into All In Phase 2. So, wow, what a segue!
Yeah, so speaking of DCKO, when we can talk about comics, there is a particular book that I think Bill wanted to talk about.
Yeah. So, one thing I've liked about KO, and I know I've talked about it, I think this is the 5th book I think I've talked about with DCKO. Apologies, it's the majority stuff I read right now. They've had these one-shot specials, which have been some of the better storylines that are interconnected with the tournament itself. And I think one of the reasons why they are so enjoyable is that you don't have to be versed in what happened before. These are very easy on-ramps. So what's happening here with KO, the Kids Are All Fight special? Well, first of all, you throw a reference to the Who I'm There, that's gonna be good. And you can see on the cover it's some of DC's young heroes. But there's 3 there that might not be that familiar. You have the John Kent Superman, you have the Cassandra Cain Batgirl, those spring out. If you had followed the Supergirl and the Last Justice Society series, that Jeff Johns had. That there are some new heroes and there are some time displaced heroes. So we have the daughter of Jay Garrick there in the Boom, and we also have Michael Holt's son, terrific, and the young lady with the Cheshire Cat mask is Cheshire Cat. That's Leon Harper, who's not been dealt with. She's had some really nasty treatment in the past. So
yeah,
it's nice that they're giving her stuff. So what's going on in DCKO? The kids are all fight. Okay. So some of the Titans are basically overseeing the Watchtower, and they're the ones that are dispersing the heroes onto missions. Earth is like gradually becoming a hellscape, so it's not great. And they enlist John Kent to kind of be a babysitter right now. There are some younger heroes that are up on the satellite, and he's not happy with this, but he kind of understands it because, if everything really goes to pot, they got to have a heavy hitter like him. So he's kind of babysitting, and the people that he's babysitting just want to get out there and do stuff. And guess what? I mean, Leon Harper is the daughter of Cheshire, apart from being the daughter of Arsenal. And she eventually gets one of their Omega keys, and they transport down to Earth. So John knows he's in trouble. Roy Harper already told him, like, if anything's happened, I'm going to stab you with, I'm going to stab you in the heart with Ollie's kryptonite arrow. So some very like fun moments happen early on, but when they do get down to Earth, they find that there are some younger heroes that are being controlled by Granny Goodness, which include Yara Flor and Courtney Super, Stargirl. And if you had followed the Jeff Johns Justice Society, that they're very close to some of these people. Irie West, Thunderheart, Wally West's daughter, is also down there being controlled. So those young scallywags end up down on Earth. They're about to fight them. John finally catches up, and he brings in tow, who's being a little bit pain in the ass there, but you got to have a world's finest team there. Cassandra's with him, and they get the team out of their control. And some of that is by the last minute intervention of another young hero who we haven't seen in a while, Static. So it ends off with Granny Goodness taking a boob tube and splitting the scene. But if I can just leave this here, there's some young heroes who are going to be looking out for her and making sure that nothing bad happens. And this leads right into Titans 32. And if you follow the solicits, number 33 is New Titans. And I think this answers some of the questions of some of the heroes we have seen in shadow, in silhouette. So this is effectively a prequel to New Titans. And I think, especially because recently in DC, the stakes have been so high in a lot of the books that it's time for a book that's a bit more fresher and a bit more fun. And Jeremy Adams, did great jobs on the Flash and Green Lantern titles, and I think he's a very good fit for this. And that was the one thing I really took away with it. It's like, as much as DC has been valuable reads over the last, really year and a half, the fun factor hasn't been amped up in a lot of them. And this was really refreshing to see that, especially because it's in the middle of KO, which is, fun in a different way. It's fun in that questing, battling game-ish kind of thing. But the tone here felt more than anything like the Peter David Young Justice. I thought it really had that tone, and I was very happy with it. Very happy with it.
We have some more images for those who are following along on video, and here's the these are really cool. Like Quiz Kid, Cheshire Cat, the Boom, Fair Play. Like it's just
and Quiz Kid is one of the time displaced sidekicks that they were eventually able to save. The artist on this is Travis Mercer. Very often, a lot of the one shots within DCKO have been a variety of writers and a variety of artists. This was the same team throughout. Nice.
But yeah, of course
I like Donna. Yeah, he draws a good Donna.
Yeah.
And I also like the characterization here where John's kind of on Donna and Roy's level, but kind of not. And it'll be interesting to see what kind of a leader he becomes. Yeah, because this will be the first time he's tasked with that.
Well, and also like the fact that Static Shock is back. I know Static has been. I mean, he's a favorite. I think he really hit a lot of prominence, obviously, with the cartoon series back in the 90s. But a lot of people know him and recognize him.
Early 2000s.
Nice.
I think.
Is it early 2000s?
Yeah,
I know it was.
Yeah.
We're talking like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But there's obviously there's been some publisher issues with using Static a lot, and he's come back and then gone away again, and then come back and then gone away again.
I mean, I read most of the more recent resurgence of the Milestone stuff. It was okay. I mean, it wasn't like the best thing ever, but it was fun.
It was fun seeing those characters again.
Yeah,
and it was also they also got the Milestone tone right.
Yeah, they did. Right. I felt like they did. Which, by the way, kids, if you haven't read the original Milestone stuff, you should do that because, Dwayne was the motherfucking man. So,
what was your favorite Milestone book?
Mine. I mean, I really like Static. I mean, but we're sitting there talking about them. I also really like. Words are failing me. Their Superman analog. Icon. Yeah, Icon and Rocket. Icon and Rocket were both. I thought that was really fun.
Yeah. And Rocket's arc was great too. Like, I mean, just seeing sort of like the development and having your sidekick really take off as her own character, I think was really great. I did want to show off my my variant cover on this one. This was from, and I just had it in my head and I totally forgot. Oh well, we'll figure it out. But I just love this look, and I just love the fact that this is a prelude to a new Titans book. And with the current Titans book, I've been kind of off and on it. Other than the annual last year, which was amazing. But I kind of want it to skew younger. I'm missing a true Teen Titans. I don't need a teeny Teen Titans, but having something with a little bit more, but like you said, like the Young Justice kind of feel to it is
which
cool.
I think is the same continuum. I've always viewed that as kind of the same continuum. And let's face it, there's been some weird Titans books in the past. Like Team Titans. Do you guys ever read that one?
I didn't read it.
I did read Team Titans.
Ooh.
That was back in the Wildebeest years, and that was also wasn't that the book that when
that was after they had? I liked Wildebeest and Red Star and Panther.
But Teen Titans wasn't that the one when it released? There were like hundreds of not hundreds, but there were tons of variant covers.
There were like hundreds of Titans. Yeah.
Oh yeah, tons of Titans. But
right.
When it premiered, or when the first issue came out, there were lots and lots of variants.
Because they had like the core issue, the Nightwing, and then they had there were 5 different issue ones with the origin story of the 5 members.
Yep.
So you had to buy 5 copies.
Collect them all.
No, they ought to know better. No team gets that many members unless it's called Legion. So true. Speaking of Titans, I started reading a little book like that's back in the Legacy. I don't know if it probably missed by a lot of people, but it was this guy named Wolfman and this other dude named Perez. Made like a new version of the Teen Titans at one point in time. And I just found it laying around the other day, and nobody's ever told me this existed. And I thought, why not? Why shouldn't I just read this? So I'm about 12 issues in so far. I'm digging it. Yeah, I'm digging it. I like what I'm reading. It's some good stuff. I mean, people should really catch on to this. It should be famous. I don't know why it's not. But yeah, so I'm that's been what I've been reading lately.
Okay, so with the first 12 issues, so you've had Deathstroke introduced, you've had Brother Blood introduced. You got and Trigon.
Trigon. Yeah, we've had
Brother
Trigon.
Blood you don't have yet. Brother Blood's a little later.
We Deathstroke's son.
Ravager
made his appearance and been disrespectfully removed.
The Justice League make an appearance.
They did.
You have their Day in the Life, which is the best issue of the early run.
Yeah,
issue 8. Yeah,
it's been really fun.
And you're about to venture into the Doom Patrol.
I also, and so here's what's funny. Like I have not. It's interesting reading this version of Dick Grayson, and here's why I say that. Right, I grew up with Nightwing. For most of my life, the only time I've read Dick Grayson as Robin have been these like retrospective things. Like we're going to go back and like Nightwing exists, so we're going to tell you about the early adventures of Robin Hood and Batman. Right? It's never been while he was in that continuity. I don't think, at least as far as I know, this is one of the first times where I've read. Read Robin in that context of like, oh no, he's still actually Robin in this time
before he
other than like some just early Batman adventure stuff, right? But so that's been interesting seeing Beast Boy, or sorry, his name is not Beast Boy, it's Changeling. Changeling is hilarious. I like very, very quickly. He's not been a character I've ever actually cared about. But very quickly became endearing. So I really like that character and the little art they're on a lot.
It's cool.
Good stuff. You're in for a good ride.
I'm excited. It's been great so far.
Great. All right, Steve, I think you have a book from the much darker end of the DC universe.
I believe so. And, by darker end, maybe the more sort of like indie feel. Because we have recently they announced actually last year, I believe. I want to say it was NYCC. They came out with like all the titles.
It was New York Comic Con. Yep. I was there.
Yes, you were there. But they were going to be releasing
tweeting to these guys as it was happening.
Oh my God, you should see this. So they were talking about the resurgence or the revitalization of the Vertigo imprint. So Vertigo is back. It tends over the past several years, it's kind of like popped up here and there, usually for specific things. So like when the Joe Hill books, with all those miniseries, like that was kind of under the Vertigo imprint. There were a couple other titles that would come up here and there. But it really hasn't been the same for a very long time. Sandman Universe, technically is under Vertigo, but they've brought it back, and they brought back several new titles. Including Bleeding Hearts, which I have a new poster of just over here, and the book that I chose to talk about tonight, which is End of Life. And here's the main cover for it. And the reason why I wanted to talk about it is because I love Kyle Starks, and this is a Kyle Starks book through and through. It is so Kyle Starks. And for those of you who are not familiar with his work, I mean, he's done Fuck This Place. He's done
Rock Canyon Mountain's still my favorite. Still, like to this day, that is my favorite thing he has done.
Yeah, he's also, I believe, written some Rick and Morty, for something that people might be more familiar with. But just like a lot of his stuff has just been so much fun, and it's goofy and crazy, and it brings to mind 70s and 80s exploitation and action films. So the dialogue, the characters, they sort of personify these larger than life and dumber than sticks kind of people. but always in a fun way. So there's a lot of tongue-in-cheek humor, a lot of dad jokes, and just a lot of really cool action. And End of Life is no exception here. So basically, it follows a hitman, an assassin, who's part of a special society of hitmen called the Menagerie. Every single one of these, these accomplished professionals takes the persona of a particular animal. So they wear an animal head in the ceremonies, or I guess when they just want to look cool. And of course, tattoos, etc. And the main character here, Eddie Stallion, is one of their accomplished hitmen. He's, signed all the paperwork, double initialed here, there, and everywhere, and is now one of the secret group who are extremely powerful. Well, he takes a job, not a really good idea, and his handler is kind of pissed off about him because she didn't really like him taking this job, and it's gone horribly wrong. And he explains the reason why it's gone horribly wrong is because as he was helping this group of dudes, these brothers, in pulling off this major heist, he didn't realize who he was actually helping them steal from. And it turns out it was the Raven's house. The Raven being another member of the Menagerie, and actually somebody who's like a regional boss. So completely foreboding for him to do something like that with another Menagerie member's house. So he's now basically been named persona non grata and is going to be hunted to death. So what does he do? He escapes to his old hometown of Pluto, which is in the middle of nowhere. And the only thing that's ever been famous for is being the home place of this gentleman named Richard Smiley, who was a cartoonist who was famous for a particular cartoon or newspaper strip called Wrong Dog. There was a Wrong Dog amusement park. There's all this merchandise and everything. But unfortunately for Richard Smiley, he kind of got massively canceled after all these horrible things came out about what he really politically believes in. Similar to other cartoonists who have had a major fall from grace because of, racism, white supremacy, any kind of sexual, escapades that are more Epstein Islandish. And that's kind of what happened here. So Pluto, of course, has just gone down the dumps. Nobody's going to this amusement park. It's been shut down. Everybody's kind of left. And there's really no one here except for a really cool woman who runs the local gas station, which is the only store in town, and her 8-year-old son. And of course, Eddie's father. And Eddie's dad, he has not spoken to in years. His father, hates him, kicked him out of the house because of the way that he treated his stepmother, and just being a horrible dick of a person, which Eddie is. I mean, he's completely unlovable. He's such a jerk when he's given the chance to talk and kind of reveal his personal feelings on everything. He's also dumb as a stick, as I've mentioned before, but coming back here might be his best chance to have some kind of redemption. His father is sick, dying of cancer. His hospice nurse happens to be Eddie's ex-girlfriend, Sophie. And there's some opportunity there for a rekindled romance if he can survive long enough. Because one of the things that he also ended up doing, besides pissing off the Menagerie and breaking their cardinal rule, he's also pissed off Richard Smiley. Because Richard Smiley finds out that he kind of helped the gas station clerk fight off a couple goons who were trying to steal from her. Yeah, those goons worked for Richard Smiley, who has set up an evil lair in his little amusement park that's been shut to the public. So lots of histrionic, like, how dare he, destroy my kingdom? I am Richard Smiley. Like, it's just really wacky, crazy, wonderful stuff. Very Kyle Starks. I also love the fact that, and I put up the slide, I think, for people who are following along, there are examples of this comic strip that are throughout, and the jokes are ridiculous. The character is a mix between a Dilbert and a Garfield, maybe, in terms of his delivery and his philosophy. It's just comic strip fare, the likes of which we probably haven't seen since the early 90s. Love it. I am so excited for this book series, and I'm actually very happy that this is one of the first new Vertigo titles that I've read, because I think that they're on the right track if they have more books like this. And there are already, Bleeding Hearts did release, I think, a couple weeks ago. This past week was End of Life, and I think there's a couple more that are coming out in the next month or so, including a revival of 100 Bullets, some more. I guess there's another one that
they finished the Rick Veitch Swamp Thing.
Yes, the 90s. Yeah, that's going to be that's a, I guess, 4-issue miniseries that's finishing up what Veitch kind of left, and wasn't allowed to actually continue.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like he was meeting the Swamp Thing meeting Jesus,
Yeah, it's a little too much for the, I guess it was the mid 80s. Was it 80?
Very late 80s, early 90s. I want to say early 90s.
Was it that late?
It was, the issue was Swamp Thing 88.
Okay,
it was removed. So,
but yeah, I'm excited.
I honestly can't remember, because it may have been very late 80s, because I think Veitch was writing the title during Invasion. So it might be 89. It might be late 88 or 89. You might be right.
Actually, yeah, it looks like 89.
I was on the way.
Which is why it's the continuation series is now called Swamp Thing 1989. So we'll finish them up. But yeah, so
Bill gave a sneer when I said that. I was saying I was on the way with the answer. I was Googling it to find out what year.
You were saying I wasn't born yet.
No, I realized that's what you thought after you gave me the look, and I was like, oh, he misunderstood what I meant. I was in fact born.
It hurts me that I could be your dad. It hurts me sometimes.
Be my dad. You can be my daddy. It depends on what day of the week it is. I could be your daddy. It works out real well. You're not gonna be my dad. It couldn't be. No, that's
not happening.
No.
Is that offer open? No, but yeah, so I definitely recommend End of Life for everybody who wants to read it, and check out the rest of the Vertigo books if you're interested. If that's kind of something that you've been looking for, DC published indie-ish books.
Yeah.
All right. Caleb, over to you. What do you have?
I have a book from Image Comics that I'm really excited about. I did want to jump over and ask a question though before we leave the Vertigo book. Sure. Who in the editorial team is like Shelley Bond a part of this, or is there anybody?
Shelley Bond left with Karen.
Okay, so Karen Berger's not involved in this either. Anyway, where there
is it? Maybe Will Dennis.
Okay, Matthew Levine.
Matthew Levine
is the editor for.
He was hot. Yeah. Oh.
Oh, okay. And Chris Conroy. So
okay. Matt was hot.
Okay. I think I forget who Shelley Bond is working with now, but I know they've jumped over to a different publisher. And I just couldn't remember if they were still involved. Okay, but I will jump over to Image Comics for my book. And I read something that I read it specifically because of the name of the writer, who is Justin Jordan. I consider Justin a friend. He and I chat pretty frequently online. Met him several times. I get to say hi to him every time I go to a con. Great guy, along with many other people. I'm not making the claim that we're besties.
Yeah. Just a question. Isn't he Arkansas?
No. You're thinking of Aaron Cooter, I think.
I wasn't thinking of Aaron Cooter.
Okay, Aaron Cooter is Arkansas. Justin lives in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So he's a Pennsylvania guy. But yeah, he very much looks like he's got the he's a wild man kind of person. But I picked it up because I like Justin. I like Justin's work. And so I was going to see what he's been up to lately. And then I noticed the other name on it. It's John Bivens, who does the art. And I'm like, oh, I know that name. That's one of Justin's art partners from Spread. I love Spread. So I didn't even realize this was happening. Right. So this is basically the second half of the spread team come back together with colors by Felipe Sobrero and letters by Crank. And I thoroughly enjoyed this book. So I like all of Justin's stuff. I like a lot of Justin's stuff. Some hits different than others. He's leaning back into more of the stuff that I like the most, which is the sci-fi horror aspect. And so what this story is, at the time the story takes place, so we'll consider that the present. 30 years before, something happens and a rift opens, and the world as we know it is changed because these, for lack of a better word, demons come through, and these are demons that are able to effectively possess, warp, and manifest any like advanced technological beings, right? And this can include computers, so that would also include people and animals who are, advanced, like we're technologically advanced, or so are animals, right? And they show an example of a rat and a cell phone that like merged into a thing, and they have had to advance technology and science and witchcraft to help fend these things off, and like over the course of 30 years for humanity to survive. And there's different ways that they go about doing this, right? They have kind of these occult SWAT teams. They've realized that they can shine different symbols and different kind of iconography on places, and they can seal the portals or the breaches, or they can push the creatures back through. But they've always been on kind of the defensive, and in very few examples do they get to be on the offensive. And they've been working on that for 3 decades. And then they have been able to develop a weapon, right, that is going to hopefully save humanity if it doesn't destroy humanity. And this weapon has a name. Weapon's name is Morgan. Morgan is effectively a young girl, kind of, but she's also possessed by one of these demons. She's part machine, part demon, part human. And she has been engineered and raised to effectively be a walking arsenal, like a walking killing machine that feeds off of these creatures. But can they trust her? They don't know. So there's a figure in this world named Dr. Klein. He was kind of the first persons to really understand, maybe, or put a finger on the pulse of what's happening in this universe. And he's been helping develop this. And so he found he stumbled upon a woman one day who was pregnant and giving birth, and at the same time a breach came through. But he was able to kind of take the child and raise the child very much as a science experiment, right? This was not a loving relationship. This was kind of like 11, from Stranger Things. Like you're in a military base getting experimented on every day. And Morgan is what pops out. Right, and we see all of this one day when there is a if you think of like kaiju stories, they have like different levels of kaijus. They have the same thing on demons, right? Level 1's pretty easy to deal with. Level 5, we're all going to die. There's a breach one day, and one of these creatures comes through, and it's apparently a fairly high level, to the extent that it can warp all of the senses of the people around. So as this occult SWAT team goes in, they can't trust what they see. They can't trust what they smell. They can't trust what they hear. They can't trust what they taste. They can't trust anything. So it warps their ever-loving reality, and they're effectively walking into the maw, right? So, and then Morgan shows up to break shit and to just absolutely devour this creature. Then they weren't sure what to expect, and the people aren't sure what to expect. And now that they know that there is a hybrid out there, we're going to have to figure out where she's going to land, because she at any given time is the most dangerous thing on the planet. And they just have to hope that she continues to be on their side, because she makes it very clear, I know I can destroy everything. So where's this going to go? I don't know. I'm along for the ride. It's a fun story. I love the character designs. The monsters in this have a very Jack Kirby feel, to the extent that it's not by any means a Jack Kirby analog, but lots of the fourth world like dots and squiggles and designs and that kind of aspect of Jack Kirby's art. You see some good crackle and stuff in there. So it's fun to see that, but it's also fun to just see the grotesqueness of another monster story. A lot of similarities to what we saw in Spread to some degree. So I think this is going to be fun. The action is great. The violence is hypernatural, and there's one scene where she basically just cannibalizes a demon tech monster creature, and it is hilarious and grotesque. So go check this out. The book is wonderfully named Malevolent. And again, it is by my friend Justin Jordan and John Bivens and the rest of their team, Felipe Sobrero and Crank.
Nice. Now, Caleb, I know you had a book from Image. I think you also have a book from Dark Horse.
I do.
It might be nice to just cover the ground of those two publishers right now.
You want me to just
do you mind going again?
I don't mind going again. Just let me get it pulled up real quick. Yeah, so I camped out on Indie Island for a little bit over this past week and had an absolute great time. So the other book that I chose to talk about is this book, again, I grabbed because I saw the name on it, and this person has been on an absolute tear, and I've spoken about a couple of his books over the last few weeks. And of course, the person I'm talking about is David Lapham, and the book is American Caper. Now, this comes out of Dark Horse. And again, I just happened to, be scrolling through looking for new issues #1, and I saw this up, and I'm like, I've been loving what Lapham has been doing. So let me go see what this is. And then I saw another name that looks very familiar, and that name is Dan Hauser. Are either of you familiar with Dan Hauser?
So I know the name, but I can't.
Yeah, the name is ringing a bell. If you could.
Yeah, so let me bridge that gap for you. It's not necessarily a name you know from comics. It's the same guy who wrote video games that are hits, such as Red Dead Redemption. Just kind of a fairly famous video game writer, and has touched on a lot of stuff. And so I knew that as well. So I really wanted to tap into this. This is the best thing I've read in a long time. Like flat out, like we always say this, but this come the end of the year, this could very easily be one of the books that's on the best of list. It is absolutely hilarious, tongue in cheek. It is satirical to its core. It rips apart our culture in the most hilarious ways. It very much reminds me of very tongue-in-cheek, very snarky Garth Ennis, like the Garth Ennis who wrote Dicks. Like that's where this is going. So this story really centers on two kind of characters. One gentleman is named William Hamilton, and the other one's name is Orson Chalmers, right? And they live in a little town in the middle of nowhere called Verona, Wyoming. And this is redneck city, man. This is out in the middle of nowhere. No one knows what this is. There's nobody there. And now William, who is kind of the central character that the story focuses on in the front half, he is an attorney, not a very great one, right? He was an attorney who had dreams of saving the world and everything, but then
can you just go back one to the first image? Oh, and then the next one, please. Boy, does that feel like Millar World in its peak.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I will say too, Hauser very much was channeling his inner Chaykin in this book too, with the level of like the snark sophistication. But so William Hamilton did not start off here. Like I said, he wanted to be a save the world attorney, and then gambling addiction led him down the wrong road. So he ended up representing just the most garbage of people's. And he works for a multinational, very big firm, but they stuck him in the middle of nowhere because he can work remotely and stay out of trouble, and represent some of their big like rancher rural clients as they just strip the rights away from everybody. And so he brought his family there, and since he's brought his family there, his wife has gone down the alt-right YouTube rabbit hole. She is very much Pizzagate kind of person, and he just kind of walks in the room to see her screaming about the liberals online and Jewish space lasers or something. I don't know. She's got her gun in her family. His son doesn't respect him, and his daughter, his son just sees him, and his daughter is the exact opposite from his wife. She's moved off to to New York to go to college, and has a buzz cut and a mohawk, and is everybody's a fascist, and is going to just destroy the world. She's essentially the polar opposite of her mother, but to the same extreme degree. And so this guy's life is just miserable. And he is in bed with some pretty terrible people. And this culminates in a land deal that went bad, where the guy, he was supposed to get the this kind of billionaire rancher to sign some papers and do this epic land deal, but the dude kicked the bucket before he got the signature. So he's in trouble and has to make some things happen, or he's going to end up on the wrong side of a billionaire's hit list, right? He'll get suicided in prison or something. But he's not the only person in this town with a off kilter kind of existence. His neighbor is a nice Mormon boy with just a nice haircut, upstanding young man, white lily white existence, picket fence, and everything else. That lives right across the street from him, and the family all gets along. They love each other, and they're kind of the pinnacle of at least exuding this heteronormativity, homogeny in Wyoming. But Orson's got a secret too, it turns out. Orson messed up one time when he was on a job trip with some of the elders in the church, and woke up in a bed full of blow and hookers, like you do, and so that's just kind of oops. Except they have this over him, and he really needs to repent, and the only way for him to really repent is to meet the needs of these high level Mormon sophisticants in the church. And so he's effectively the world's most pious hitman. Is murdering people. So on one hand, you have the garbage lawyer who is a gambling addict that hates his family, represents Monsanto or some shit. And on the other hand, you have the really nice guy who's doing everything right in the world, except he likes to murder people for vengeance. And their worlds are combining, right? Because now what happens is the guys that he is supposed to be, that William Hamilton is representing and trying to make this land deal go through, is at odds with Orson Chalmers and his targets. And so these two polar opposite neighbors are going to collide in an amazing way. And this, of course, is drawn brilliantly by David Lapham, right? Like this is like David Lapham's work is top shelf anyway. This is next level. And the graphic that you've got up right now, they have laced in these little advertisement pages that have they add context to the story, but they're really not anything to do with the story. Orson likes to grill, and so this is an advertisement for the grill that Orson has, that you see interlaced throughout this story. It is snarky, it is satirical, it's heavily political. I think it is. I'm not a both sides are the same kind of person. This is not, left wing, right wing, same. But no, that's bullshit. No one, I'm not that guy. But this really does shine a light on the extremes of the polarization that we see here in the country that we're living in now, in a really interesting kind of way, and it's fun. So I think this is great. I really enjoy what this has to say. I very much like the level of introspection mixed with just lowbrow comedy that you get with this. Now, in saying that, I also believe in calling out bad behavior when bad behavior deserves to be called out. And in some other groups that I'm a part of, I was mentioning how much I enjoyed this, and somebody who is a very good friend of mine, I won't say his name, he didn't tell me I could, piped up though and said, hey, this dude has stolen a lot of money from me personally and several other people. And he's talking about Lapham. So David Lapham has sold and collected money for art that he is not going to deliver. And we're not talking about small chump change either. Like the people that we are talking about are spending a lot of money on this stuff. And I firmly believe that if you act badly, you ought to know. So the folks who are listening to this, our audience, you should know that David Lapham has stolen money from people, real life people that are friends of mine, right? So fuck him for that. Does not change the fact that he has made some amazing art in this particular book. So I almost didn't talk about this tonight because I don't, in some way promoting it and putting money in his pocket when he's done a bad thing. But this is also genuinely good work, right? The work speaks for itself on a lot of levels. But also, if you're a thief, I've got no time for you, so fuck off. So that's where I kind of stand on this. Great book, cool story, not going to discourage anybody from reading it, but also give people what you want.
I think I think that's something to is important to note, that after a point it is theft.
Yes.
I mean, it initially is not delivering on time, then not delivering. I'm just interested to hear what the rationale and excuses were.
I don't know that any have actually been delivered. That's the thing. I mean, the people that I've spoken to have firsthand experience with this. They are the people from which money has been. And look, I've done that, right? I've paid for commissions that I have never gotten. At some point, I just kind of decided to, well, and so one of the reasons, like, I was out $400 for a commission that I, paid for while I was going through law school, because the artist is from overseas and his rep folded. And they never got me to work, so I'm just out that money. I consider that theft too, but at least the company went bankrupt, so I have something to laugh at, maybe. But this guy is still doing great work, still accessible and stuff like that, and that I have a huge problem with. So I would not be the person that I am, and I don't think it would make me a very good friend if I just lauded this dude's work and did not point out the very serious and wrong facts of what are going on.
Just wondering, because they're just not on the tip of my tongue. I know there's at least 2 other major artists that have been lousy in terms of commission delivery, and they're just not coming to my mind right now. But it's not just him.
No, it's not. I mean, there are several that are notorious for it. Tony Moore sold a whole lot of stuff on Kickstarter that he never delivered. And took the money for. So,
and there's also a couple of artists that will give you, like, basically commission you didn't commission. So,
which is one of the reasons now I don't do a whole lot of commissions. I still do sometimes, but like, I actually, if I'm going to pay for a commission, I've got a ton of his work, but I'd just assume get Kelly Williams to draw me something I don't have yet, right? I know that guy. He's somebody that I'm close to. I can get it. I will, if I know I'm going to pick something up at a con, maybe do it, but I'd much rather just buy a page or just draw a pre-drawn commission that I can get, because at least I know what I'm getting, and I know what, I'm getting whatever. When we're handing this off, if I put the cash in your hand, I'm accepting the work that you have. So
if I did collect art, I think I would prefer that, just because there's alignment with this,
Yes. Yep. Yeah. But also, I mean, it is kind of cool getting an original commission of a character you love, right? Like, I mean, I've got a lot of Scarlet Witch stuff. That's cool. In different positions, a lot of Midnight and Apollo stuff.
In a lot of positions.
And a lot of positions.
All right, why don't we move over to Steve? Steve, what's another book you want to talk about?
Well, mine, of course, is indie, and because what would an episode of this be without me talking about my favorite revival horror anthology imprint, EC Comics, and of course, because there's
this is becoming the DCKO EC Comics relaunch.
It is. It's DC EC.
Yeah.
ECDC. There we go.
ECDC.
But
that's
because
funny.
it is.
That's funny.
I got GCDC on.
There you go. But since there is a holiday in February, we had Valentine's Day, but we also had Mardi Gras as well.
And President's Day.
And President's Day, which surprisingly they did not have a story related to President's Day in this one. But EC put out a sort of themed book for this time. Let's see if I can pull it up. There we go. Aha. Excellent. It's called Tortured Hearts. So this is one of the covers. I believe this is the A cover, but there's also, as usual, multiple variants that have some wonderful, sick and twisted artwork. Always gorgeous, and always fun, and not usually related to something that's inside the book. So a lot of times when you have these sort of special issues of EC themed books. It's just the artists doing the most disgusting thing that they can based on that theme. So of course, February book, what are you going to get? You're going to get love stories. You're going to get sort of twisted, sometimes gory, sometimes just psychotic stories about love, maybe love gone wrong, maybe love gone really wrong. And that's what you got here. And you also, as usual with these EC books, have some wonderful writers and artists taking part and collaborating on their multiple stories. So for the writing side, we've got Teenie Howard and Blake Howard. We've got Ann Nocenti in this book. We've got Amy Roy, and also Jordi Belair has their hand at writing a story in this one as well. Artwork, we've got Fabiana Mascolo, Sebastian Cabral, Arjuna Susini, and Dan McDade. Gorgeous work. Lots of really fun collabs here. Some pretty cool stories. There is an interesting kind of like a fun arguing couple goes to a retreat, goes to a cabin in the woods so that they can reconnect, even though they're both horrible people who hate each other. And they run into another couple who has found that secret to keeping the spark alive, and that is, of course, murdering other people. You have a woman who is being stalked horribly by a man she hires to fix something in her house, and the police can do nothing to help her. And in fact, some of the police don't even want to help her. They actually take his side, and so she decides to kind of turn the tables on him and basically nail him in a very literal sense to make sure that she can get rid of him, but also that she doesn't get rid of him and then he moves on to another woman and tortures her the same way. There's actually a very serious write-up that goes in there that talks about the development of stalker laws in California and other places. But also, like with a lot of these themed EC books, one thing they like to do is reprint an old story from the original Tales from the Crypt, Vault of Horror, etc. And this one is no different. It actually has a classic story by William Gaines, Ed Feldstein, art by Reed Crandall, and it's all basically restored, colorized, etc. by Michael Attia, I believe is his name. But this one's really fun. It's a cool Mardi Gras party in the mid-50s in New Orleans, where this guy is just obsessed with this woman who appears year after year, and they dance together and they canoodle and all of that. But he's never seen her face. They're all masked up. He's never seen her face, but this is the year that he's going to ask her to marry him. And she does, but she keeps telling him, no, I'm not taking off my mask. I'm not taking off my mask. I just want to make sure that this is true love. They go, they elope, and in the middle of the night, he decides that he is going to take off her mask while she's sleeping. And as he does, he realizes it's not a mask. It is her actual face, as he's ripped the skin off of her face. Anyway, beautiful, wonderful, and I'm sure the kids that read it went on to commit severe acts of vandalism, just like Wortham said. So it's fun. I love these EC books. I love the themed ones because they all really give the writers and the artists a chance to have fun with it and write the crazy story that they couldn't figure out where to publish elsewhere, and really give their hand at enjoying the very fine line between beauty and horror and gore and just gorgeous line work. So I've been very happy with these, and I'm looking forward to the next themed issue of EC Comics, which who knows what that'll be. Maybe they'll have one for the summer, but that of course I will be covering it on this podcast because I love them. So Tortured Hearts, go and pick it up when you have a chance.
It sounds grotesque and wonderful.
It is. It's really great. Bill, you were on mute.
I had my mic off. I just wanted to say it's nice to have familiar names on that, because some of the EC revivals have not had the benefit of that.
Yeah.
No. But yeah, and I just love the mix of names. And Jordi Belair, I was surprised to actually see a story about him. I was like, oh, I know them as a colorist. And they do some great work, but as a writer, absolutely, I want more.
Right. I love when artists and letterers and colorers surprise you like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So
my favorite is Cliff Chang.
That was exactly what I was going to say. That Cliff Chang is the epitome of that.
But I mean, they're creatives. I guess it shouldn't come as a surprise.
But it contain multitudes. Like knowing how to draw does not inherently mean you know how to craft a story too. I mean, and there's some that. So don't mean to talk shit. It kind of seems like talking shit, but like Joelle Jones, I don't enjoy Joelle Jones as a writer, and she's been on Catwoman forever. Or if she's still on Catwoman, but was on Catwoman for a long time and stuff. I just don't. I don't think that translates well. Her work has not. Maybe she's learning and stuff like that, but there's some that it just doesn't work.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up Catwoman, because I had a conversation with Chris Roman today, and one time he got very mad at me because he felt I was kind of denigrating the upcoming Spider-Woman series that was coming up at that point. And my feeling is that there are some characters where the narratives that you can explore with a character are limited, or at least the excitement for those narratives are limited. So I do think some characters are better suited for miniseries. Spider-Woman, I think, is one. DC has a bunch of them, whether it's Doom Patrol or Hawk and Dove, and I think Catwoman's kind of in that bracket. But somehow, I mean, she's had an ongoing title since 2011.
Yeah.
And even before that was, only a small break between that and the series that initially launched with
Will Pfeiffer?
Yeah. No, with Ed Brubaker. Pfeiffer was on it later, but it launched with Brubaker. Yeah. And even before that with, Dixon and everything. So she's had very long consistent books. One of the 12 books that survived all 52 issues of New 52.
Yeah. Right.
Which I haven't read a lot of that.
The like I said, with All In, that was at the beginning it almost felt like it was a pitch for another series, and they like reworked it for Selena. And I just think that's one character that I think would be better suited in like limited series every so often. But somehow it survived, and I'll agree with you, Caleb. I didn't think Joelle Jones was hitting one out of the park with that series.
I have no opinion because I don't read a lot of Batman books unless it has absolute in front of that title.
Right, but the one I gave you for Christmas, that's probably the best Catwoman story apart from Fangs that's been. Yeah.
And that's one that I actually did collect in floppies, which was really great. And I never read it, but now having the actual,
that's a good one.
Yes, because it's
because
Batman
of any character like that. Do you think like maybe instead of ongoings that?
Yeah, She-Hulk. I think She-Hulk is made for miniseries, right? She's a character that I think makes a great supporting character. I've read a lot of She-Hulk. I tend to pick up anything and buy anything with She-Hulk's name on it. I got boxes full of it upstairs. I love her. I'm not denigrating the character. She works best as either a supporting character or in a miniseries. It's just a thing.
I would say Cyclops, and they keep trying to give him an ongoing book, and I think with the last couple of series, I guess maxi series, because they ended up being 12 issues. I don't know. They're fun to read, but short is best. If you want to have a Cyclops book, keep it 6 issues.
Well, Cyclops is a character that needs to be in a team. Like Cyclops in a team book as an ongoing is great. I mean, I feel that way about most of the X-Men who aren't named Wolverine, though, whether we're talking about Gambit or Storm or whatever. I mean, there's been some good, solo series, but those characters, the genetics of those characters were made for a team book. So I think they work best in that.
Yeah, but sometimes it can be a character outside of that. Martian Manhunter comes to mind.
Sure.
Yeah.
Spurts.
Mm-hmm.
Absolute something different. Absolute something very different. I'm very happy if that goes on for a long time.
Well, it's now that they've finished that, or it will be finished in 12 issues, which again, it wasn't expected to go past 6. They were thinking like, oh, it's just going to be a mini and it'll be fine, but they doubled it because the response was so good that they were able to extend something like that, which I guess was a shock because again, I'm sure somebody was thinking.
And also organically, I think there was more to tell.
There's definitely more to tell. There's definitely more to tell because it's such a unique take on the character, and the artwork and everything worked in a way that it needed more. It needed to tell the rest of the story, and I wouldn't be surprised if we do see like a volume 2. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. For my last book, I've been a sucker for these animated revivals of 60s through 80s books. I've talked about Space Ghost. I don't think I've talked about Herculoids on the show, though. I have collected it.
Oh, you did? Yeah, I think you did Herculoids once.
I thought you did.
Speed Racer. I've talked about a lot of them. This is a series I'm not as well versed as the others. Because I was, I wasn't really watching cartoons when it came out. There's a huge comic book connection with this particular franchise. And the one that I'm talking about is Thundar the Barbarian. And this is the first issue of the new series from Dynamite. When we're talking about connections with comic books and its genetic makeup, the series was created by Steve Gerber, and the initial designs were by Alex Toth. And then Alex Toth had other commitments, and then Jack Kirby came on to do character designs. And a lot of comic book writers like Marty Pasco and Roy Thomas and Jerry Conway worked on the animated series that came out from Ruby Spears, which was kind of a Hanna-Barbera offshoot. Joe Ruby and Kent Spears basically were the showrunners for Scooby-Doo and other shows, and they eventually started their own animated studio. And one of the original projects that came out of that was Thunder the Barbarian, which was capitalizing on both sort of Dungeons and Dragons lore and also Conan the Barbarian. It was a barbarian that takes place 2,000 years in the future. And the 2,000 years in the future happens to be post-apocalyptic. I know I don't like post-apocalyptic because I worry about how people smell and shit. But this one was kind of nice. This kind of worked. And again, as I said, I have a little familiarity because I bought the Blu-ray set. So I have watched a few episodes, but I decided to take this. The big selling point for this is the writer, who is Jason Aaron. That's a very big name for Dynamite. I can't imagine his page rate is what they usually shell out for their books. And when you read this, it's immediate that this is a labor of love for him. So in terms of the script, this is right on the money. The art, however, for me was a little clunky. Not this page. This was beautiful. And this basically sets off the what happens, why the world is in a post-apocalyptic state in the year 3994. In 1994, an errant planet basically came into Earth's orbit and fucked everything up. And the world was never the same. And it eventually became a situation where there were mutants, where there were people from other planets that basically ravaged the Earth and had their own principalities. And the dominant people among them were wizards, because it was a time of rediscovered magic. So we see here that 1994 was basically the 0 year. And Steve, if you can go over to the next one, we start the series off with a slave auction. in what is obviously Manhattan. And there are different factions that want these human slaves. And one of them is very familiar by scent, let's put it that way, to one of the tribes that wants to obtain the slaves. And that is who you see here, which is the Ratmen of the Badlands, who are mutant rats that have merged with humans and are not good people.
I love comics.
Yeah, so
I love comics.
So you see here that they're bartering for these laser guns, and unfortunately there weren't that many pages online that I could provide, but one of them eventually says no more, and that is Thundar. So Thundar, travels the world of the Earth of 2,000 years in the future, and he and his friends Ukla and the princess. Ukla is kind of like an almost Wookiee, and what's the princess's name? Let me get this right here. I'm so sorry, Princess Ariel. Basically are traveling heroes and go through. So what this does is they had heard about these human slave auctions and deliberately put themselves in the path of this so that they can put a stop to this. But this also leads to a contemplation about Thundar's past. And it turns out at one time he was a slave, and he was bound into gladiatorial games. And that's where we end with the first issue, where we see Thundar entering the arena, the mightiest slave in the world. So in terms of the storyline, there's not a lot of heft here. It's a barbarian tale, science fiction elements to it, but still a barbarian tale. I've often criticized Conan to Caleb's chagrin in the past, and that there's maybe 4 Conan stories and they keep getting repeated. I imagine with Thundar there's probably maybe 6, just because the science fiction gives it a little more oomph. But again, Jason Aaron, you just read this and it just comes off the page that he's wanted to do this since he was a kid, and he's having the time of the life.
Did you read Jason Aaron's Conan?
What?
Did you read Jason?
Oh,
see, you
no,
you should have. It's that same thing that you're talking about, right? It's the absolute labor of love. Everything comes out.
There's no Ukla.
No, there's no Ukla.
Yeah. Let me just show Ukla here. Just if there's a good picture of him, Ukla the Mook. There, you can see him there.
What a Mook!
Yeah.
Ukla and his 2 siblings, Fran and Ollie.
The cover I love by Michael Cho.
Yeah,
very cartoony, which fits in with the original graphics. The artist in this book, I have to say, I was not too impressed with this. Huber Ball. There are some good pages in here, most notably that stunning first page. I thought, oh, this is gorgeous, and then I don't know, the proportions are clunky. There's not a lot of consistency. That may be the work of the inker as well. I never want to slam a working artist, because it's something I'd never be able to do. But again, the major selling point is Jason Aaron's script for this. So Thundar the Barbarian #1. Who knows how many issues it'll be? They never tell you these days. But I'm in for
be a surprise.
Yeah.
So I never realized that Jack Kirby wrote or worked on Thundar back in the day, which is interesting, because the future aspect of it has a very much a commandy.
Very much, very commanding.
And I'd never realized that Jack Kirby worked on, which I guess I should have, but
which may be why they weren't sued.
Right?
Could be. It also, some of the designs do look, especially in the faces, look very Kirby.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because it's actually Toth that did the main character designs,
which is wild to me, because you look at Ukla and you're like, that is a Kirby character, that's Kirby.
Well, at the same time, with Ukla, Toth designed the Herculoids, and it's not a huge step from some of them.
And Space Ghost.
Exactly.
Space Ghost.
Mm-hmm.
Birdman.
Birdman.
Did not do the Galaxy Trio.
Harvey Birdman.
He didn't do Shazam. I think that may be it in terms of the Super Adventure series.
Didn't design, but did a lot of work on Zorro. And there's a lot of...
Well, in the 50s, he did the comic book adaptations.
Okay, that's what it was.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the connection. Then he ended up working again when Hanna-Barbera had the Australian unit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when he was involved in C-Lab 2020 and Super Friends. The Super Friends designs are all Alex Toth designs. And there's actually a funny story when they storyboarded the Flash, and because of where he was, he drew Jay Garrick. And when they got the pages, they're like, "Who the hell is this?" That's not who we licensed, You
didn't say which Flash, so really, it's on them.
But yeah, like another solid book from Dynamite, who seemed to kind of, with Mad Cave, have a little corner of the universe with these kind of these
Mad Cave is just winning.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we should start wrapping another episode of the Comic Book Bears up. We have 2 final destinations when we complete our journey. And the first is where we show off our Geek Gets, things that are genre oriented that we may have picked up over the last 14 days. Steve, now I got to say, snow meant there wasn't a lot on my end. So that might be the case with everybody. Steve, do you have anything?
I do, and I'm trying to open it because I was like, I'll do the unboxing on here, but I'm like, oh no, it's one of those horrible boxes. But McDonald's, because Bill and I like going to McDonald's and getting some toys here and there. And right now, McDonald's did a revival of one of their most popular toy promotions over the years. And part of it was when they combined their IP with Transformers and had transforming pieces of food, say. Well, they've done a new thing where they've created toys, transforming toys that are based on things you find in a McDonald's, like this. It is a trash receptacle. The funny thing about this trash receptacle, however, is that the name of it is Curtis the Divine. I have no idea what somebody was smoking or drinking while they were coming up with the names for these things, but they are insane. This one, for one, actually has like a little dinosaur in it, like a little dinosaur head. It's just the most ridiculous thing I have ever seen. There are so many of these. They have like 20, and they're just so ridiculous. But you can get your own like transforming soda machine, transforming ice cream machine, transforming kiosk, menu kiosk.
What does the ice cream machine transform into something that works?
I was going to say a working ice cream machine.
It transforms into the guy that fixes the ice cream machine, which then is a problem because then the ice cream machine's gone, so he can't fix himself.
Do they have the order board? Is there an order
board?
They
do. Yeah, they have the order. Like they have the order screen is another character. Yeah. But I love this because it's so absurd looking, but also the name is Curtis the Divine, Curtis with a K. And it's just like, why? But it's so cool. I love it. Anyway, it has little wheels. It has little wheels and it moves. So get your own trash receptacle that transforms into a dinosaur.
Okay. All right. Over to Caleb. Caleb, do you have a Geek Cat?
I do. Well, first and foremost, let's say our monthly hellos to the Cubus Flamingo. So we're gonna always respect the flamingo.
Honorary co-host.
It just near and dear to my heart. So my Geek Get was a geek gift, and I don't think I showed you. I was trying to remember if I showed you guys this last time. I don't think I did, but my Valentine's Day, we didn't do anything big for Valentine's Day, and unfortunately, my better half had to work, so our plans got canceled. But he got me an album.
Oh, nice!
Which is the soundtrack to my favorite movie of last year, Sinners, and it's great. I very much, it's an amazing movie, but I love the blues. I listen to the blues not as much as I listen to metal, but that's probably second or third runner up. I just love it, especially just you give me old Swamp Witch music, I'm happy. And that's filled with a lot of it. So very happy to have that soundtrack. Yeah, those are my Geek Gets.
Nice.
Cool.
Despite the snow and other weather related issues, there was something that was delivered to my door the other day, and that is a new figure from McFarlane Toys.
Mm-hmm.
And there are not that many of these out there. There was a Hasbro one. There was a character in one of the Justice League Unlimited small characters. There's a figure of this character. There was also an hideously ugly one based on how he was depicted in the New Frontier. This is probably the best depiction I've seen of this character in action figure form, and that is Blackhawk. I love Blackhawk, as Steve can attest with some of my hunting situations at cons.
It's true. It's true.
And so this is again from McFarlane, from their collected DC Universe collected editions, and probably the biggest fan in the world of Blackhawk was Dave Cockrum, and it's really nice that they have the back is his Who's Who victory.
Oh,
really nice there. Yeah, you know, I'm sure up there he's smiling down on this. But yeah, really nice. I could go for a little less of the goopy pants with the lace ups. I mean, I'm more like okay with like Denner Patrolman's. That's a little more accurate. But Blackhawk, mine.
Yours.
Yours.
The Mook.
I hope I got the name of that thing right too.
Ookla the Mook.
I hope it's not Mookla the Ook.
No, it is Ookla. Ookla
the Mock.
The Mock.
I like Mook better.
I like Ookla the Mook.
He's a Mook.
He's a Mook. Hey. All right, so we're headed toward our final destination shop with the Comic Book Bears episode, and that is something we call the Woofs of the Week. In the bear community, if you find a fellow attractive, you woof at him. I'm sorry I had to do that a little bit cold. Sorry, couldn't go all out on the woof this time. But in the bear community, if you find a fellow attractive, you woof at him. And we do something similar here, where we put a spotlight on something which may be comic book or comic book related, but often will be a TV program or a film or charitable initiative, anything under the sun that we think you, fair listener or viewer, may be interested in sampling. I'll start as I always do with Steve. Steve, what is your woof of the week?
So my woof of the week is definitely, it's one of those things where I always rack my brain when it comes to like, well, what show am I watching now that I absolutely love? What show is capturing my attention, or movie or whatever, but mostly it's TV. And you know, there's some good ones, but one of them that is not new. In fact, it's really old and ridiculous, and is one of those things that every once in a while you click on some clickbait from CBR or whatever saying like everyone's forgotten about these TV shows. And there was one that popped up that I had forgotten about. It wasn't just, you know, some stupid thing where it's like nobody remembers Babylon 5 or whatever. No, this was MTV's first attempt at sci-fi, as like fictional sci-fi storytelling, and that was the show Dead at 21. I'd never heard of this. Of course, I wasn't allowed to watch MTV when it came out in 1994, but you know, it apparently was advertised quite a bit. I would sometimes sneak Liquid Television, and you know, I'm sure they advertised it a little bit, but this was a pretty big concept for MTV at the time. It's basically a government program. They, you know, were experimenting on children, trying to create super soldiers and with computer brains. And Jack Noseworthy plays the main character of this. Jack Noseworthy, who's, you know, face looked like it seemed like he was everywhere in the early to mid 90s and then just kind of disappeared. But
like Eric Nies.
Yeah, kind of like that. But Jack Noseworthy, good out. He is family. He's a very big out star now. But he was also in one of my favorite sci-fi horror movies, Event Horizon. He played Baby Bear. But anyway, so this is, I mean, he's basically being chased down. He's got a year to live before his brain explodes. And the big thing about this show is that it will never, ever be released on DVD or Blu-ray because the licensing for the music would be worth more than anything else on this show. They would never be able to recoup it because every other sound cue and scene is a hit, an MTV hit from that era, from 93, 94. It is so grunge, so it's got everybody. It's got, you've got Stone Temple Pilots, you've got Nirvana, you've got Pearl Jam, you've got everything. Like, literally, like, the soundtrack of the mid-90s is right there. The grunge movement, it's all right there. And I think that makes the show extra watchable, but also kind of fun, trying to like, hey, there's that. Oh, I know that song. Oh, I know that song. Oh, that's awesome. But yeah, Dead at 21, hard to find. If you can find it, give it a chance. It's very 93, 94. Everybody's wearing flannel. Everybody's got floppy hair. But the music is incredible. That's my
like I said, I remember ads for it because it was heavily promoted.
Yeah.
Dead at 17.
Dead at 21.
Yeah. I did recount my experience the first time I saw Aeon Flux on the monitors at the Limelight in New York City, and I was really high on Molly, and I thought I was peering into another universe, and
I mean,
they were good times.
Aeon Flux was certainly a unique experience.
Yeah, there was some like Joe's apartment freaked me out.
With all the cockroaches.
Yeah, they used to freak me out. But there was some good stuff on Liquid TV.
Yeah.
Stick Figure Theater.
Stick Figure Theater. There was also there was the puppet. There was that puppet one about the biker chick who was looking for her long lost husband.
With her lips, lips.
The lips.
Yeah.
Well, and that was the great thing about that. That was done by the filmmaker for all of those shorts. Was just one woman who did everything. Yeah. She did the puppetry. She did the the physical appearance, the cinematography, everything for that one, and it turned out crazy, and I loved it.
And also worth mentioning that the biggest alumni from Liquid TV was Beavis and Butthead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Frog Baseball was their first short.
Yeah. Okay. Over to Caleb. Caleb, what is your wolf of the week?
So my wolf of the week goes out to a book that I just finished. It's actually the first novel I've read this year. Compared to my husband, who apparently just has learned to read, and who has killed like 11 books already this year. I learned to love reading, not just learn to read. Like he read Heated Rivalry, and just like it released something inside him. So he's reading a lot of like MMYA stuff, right? So just great. But the book I just read, which I immediately text Steve about, telling him he needed to look out, is Kafka on the Shore. This is a novel by Haruki Murakami, translated. Who's the translator? It'll say on the inside. Translated it from the Japanese. This is and I text Steve this, and it's the most annoyingly English major sentence I've ever stated in my life. This is a postmodernist metaphysical take on magical realism, right? So that's if that means anything to you, right? So it is a boring, stuffy book for literary nerds who like the craft of writing, but it's also incredibly good. And so essentially, what happens in the story, it is all about the interconnection of these beings. After the atomic bomb goes off, what they don't know is that a rift has opened up in the world, and an entryway has messed up, and like there's basically a convergence of two different worlds. A young boy wakes up one day at the age of 15 and runs away from home because single dad, he doesn't know his mom, leaves. There's another man who has been a simpleton since he passed out for 3 weeks when he was 9. who now grew up, like I said, just doing simple tasks, lives off the government, talks to cats. And their worlds are connected in ways that they will never know through a series of like body shifting, murder, and spirit walking that lead back to a 1940s love affair between a librarian and the man who died in World War II. Lots of stuff there. It is, you do not know what's going to happen next. It is crazy watching all the web connects itself. There is some brilliant writing in here, and I mean, I credit that not only obviously to the writer, but also to the translator, who for the life of me, Philip Gabriel is the translator. So wonderful book, Kafka on the Shore. I highly recommend it. It is a dense read, though. This is not your standard after school fare.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, I appreciate the recommendation. At this point, I will be reading it, but I do have to read my next book club book for March. So that unfortunately has to take place.
Oh, there is trans representation in this too, I should say.
Ooh, yay, excellent. Oh, so that might be something for next year's queer book club that I belong to.
Okay. All right. For my Wolf of the Week, I go to a fellow New Jerseyite. And this past Friday and Saturday, there were a lot of people drinking because of the anxiety of trying to get tickets for a Bruce Springsteen show. And that's because Bruce is going back on tour. He's one of the leading highlights of the musical Resistance, however you look at it, along with Dropkick Murphys at this present time. And he is opening the tour right in the epicenter, I guess, of the resistance to this current administration, and that is Minneapolis. And this is being very openly broadcast as a No Kings event. And it's also in the things that he's said, basically as, going out there and doing live shows to show that there's still hope, even in the face of this bullshit fucking administration. The Land of Hope and Dreams tour kicks off, as I said, March 31st, Minneapolis, and runs till May 27th in Washington, D.C. And I will be attending the show on April 20th in Newark, New Jersey. Got shut out of some others. This was not an easy ticket. So anybody of a MAGA persuasion who says he's a has-been, no. And that isn't just Jersey pride talking. He's one of the seminal artists of our time. And, I love seeing that there's so many artists speaking up right now, and listen to what they have to say.
Yeah. I
So,
remember when you were updating, like trying to get tickets on that one.
It's maddening. It's fucking mad.
Well, before we move on and wrap up the show, I just want to take a minute, if I can. I had to say goodbye to a very good friend this week. Very, very good friend, a lifelong friend, somebody I danced at his wedding. He danced at mine, somebody that meant a lot to me. This seems to be a reoccurring theme in my life, where I'm having to bury friends way too young. But there is no silver lining. But if there is one thing to glean from it, it is that it has made me appreciate, which I already did, but it just made me double down on appreciating the people who are in my life more, the people I talk to every day, the people that I share this world with, whether you're here in Arkansas or whether I'm friends with you on the internet and talk to you through the magic of space lasers that shoot messages to satellites and into your pocket. That it means a lot to me, especially you two gentlemen that I do this show with, but our community in general. So I just want to say I love you guys. I really do, because I don't know, when the day comes, I don't get to say that again. But for the other thing I want to tell people, if you're listening to this, if you're hearing this, now is the time to text your friends. Now is the time to text that person that's been on your mind that you haven't spoken to in a while, that friend that you can talk to every 6 months and catch up and pick up right where you left off. Go ahead and message them. Go ahead and do that now. Because there might be a time you don't get to. So I just want to say again, thank you to my friends. Thank you to you guys. And thank you to all the people who are listening to this, who support us and do whatever, but just allow us to give us an excuse to talk to each other every couple of weeks. Right. So thank you.
Yeah.
Love you, Caleb.
I love you, Caleb. I like Steve, but I love you, Caleb.
Oh, okay.
I'm just kidding. I love Steve.
I don't know.
But no, some things you said. I mean, I was just thinking about this before because I was trying to find a picture from a few years ago, and I have an old iPhone. It's right here, and some of the pictures were like late 2019, early 2020, leading into the pandemic, and for me, that really was the first time where I was contending with my mortality. Where I thought, hey, this might be it, depending upon circumstances. So, I'm really touched. I'm so sorry that at such a young age have been touched by so much loss. It's hard to watch from our vantage point too.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I think I appreciate that, right? Because like I said, you're talking about a situation where you were kind of dealing with your own mortality. I'm not there. I've never not really been there, but very much was I'm getting close to 40, so very much get into the age where I was like, okay, I should prepare myself to get ready to help my friends bury their parents at some point. And I keep having to help my friends' parents bury my friends. Through various means. This one was unexpected. This was not anything like an overdose or anything like that. This was a vehicle accident, right? But it sucks and it's hard. And so where I'm at is I'm gonna just this idea of ending up being the person who lives longer than everybody else. That sucks.
It's interesting. Bruce Springsteen has a song about being the last man standing. His first band, he was the last person in the band. It's called Ghosts, and that might give you some comfort to just tie some stuff together here.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's a for what it sets out to do, it does it beautifully. So, yeah. All right. Well, that's a very deep ending to an episode of the Comic Book Bears. But please follow Caleb's advice. If there is a friend that you have that you've, maybe haven't been in as much constant contact as you have recently, this isn't the worst time to just touch base and see how they're doing. It never is. So we'll leave you with those wise words. Again, we are the Comic Book Bears podcast. You can find us on most of social media as Comic Book Bears. We are on Facebook, however, as Comic Book Bears Podcast. You can download us through Apple Podcasts. You can listen to us through Spotify and many of the other podcatching platforms. If you want to write to us, you can do so by sending an email to comicbookbears@gmail.com. If you've joined us through one of the live mechanisms, thank you for joining us live. If you're watching this later through our YouTube channel, thank you. Please like and subscribe. So until next time, I'm Bill Zanowitz.
I'm Steve Morey.
I'm Caleb Alexander McKenzie.
If you're listening to the audio version, you're going to hear a woof and an explosion, and we'll be back in 2 weeks. Take care, everyone.
Bye. Woof boom.